streaming experience. I'm your host, as per usual, Schmoopy Daddy. In case it's the first time you're watching the stream, the VOD, or the video on YouTube, I'm a monthly Hearthstone Wild Legend player who typically hits Legend first of the month, and after that I goof off. And when I goof off, I play your decks. But I do take moments out of my stream to pause and just do some meta-analysis. So I'm going to share for you guys 5 decks that seem like they are the best in the Wild format now, post the latest patch. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to give you 5 good ones and then 2 that I think are pretty decent. But I'm going to mention 9 decks total because there's 2 that I just don't have lists that I either am interested in or lists that I feel good about. I think the close to undisputed best deck in the format is some form of Spell Damage Druid. I really like this list that Soda got one with last month. I like the Fizzle and the ETC. One of the ways that this deck can lose is if your opponent techs in a Skulking Geist. And so having Fizzle to make a 2-mana snapshot so that you can hide your Chalices and your Moonbeams away from that option is kind of pretty cool. Other than that, you can also use Lifebinder's Gift to reduce your Moonbeams and your Chalices to 0, in which case Geist will not go for them. It'll only go for the real cost, not the original cost. They've changed that interaction a couple times, so it's a little bit confusing. But essentially, if the only way you lose is you're playing around Skulking Geist, deck's pretty good. But that would be my suggestions. I really like this list. This is one of the lists where if I'm tilted and I want to try and get a win, this is one of the places I go. I have had 0 luck with this list, and I think Corb might have adjusted it since we might be due up to 2 Sigils of Times and 1 Glide, but 30 Fatigue Demon Hunter is very, very good right now, according to people who are better than me. It has gotten a big benefit from the fact that aggro has been nerfed. Treasure Distributor is no longer hitting you in the face for 1 billion, even if it is buffing your board. And so this having a little bit more time to breathe, get Brutes down and Wallopers down, and take care of aggro that way, or aggro just not seeing as much play rate in general and increasing the positive matchups for this deck, that's been a big bonus for this. This deck also beats the XL Lifesteal version in the mirror as per KVLT, which is something to keep in mind. I've never been a big believer of the XL Lifesteal version. Some people are. I have heard from people who trust both decks that the Lifesteal version is worse off in this meta. It was really actually liking and enjoying the fact that the aggro was present. With less aggro, even though it had these flat matchup spreads, it liked the aggro for quick games and quick wins, and it doesn't quite have the same matchup spread now. So go with the 30, try the 30. I haven't gotten it to work, but I hear it's pretty decent. It's definitely more consistent than the Lifesteal version, which is what I prefer. I haven't changed my list as far as Pirate DH goes. I've seen a ton of Pirate DHs. I don't know if it's just because we have that event quest, and so people are doing the event quest. This still seems playable. This still has a high win rate. It looks like arguably the better of the 2 aggro decks that we have, the other one being Shadow Priest. I'm not going to feature an aggro Shadow Priest list. Mostly because I don't find that deck particularly interesting, but one thing I would implore you to try is cut Raised Deads for Gyreworm. The Forge, 4 mana, Lifesteal, deal 5 damage. The Gyreworm, cut Raised Deads instead for that. Think of them as they're like Cloud Princes. They're very good in the mirror, and obviously we're still running Hose and Roughhousers over our Twilight Deceptors, so we don't need the 2 mana, 2/3, 2 to Respel. Just buff your Pirates, go face. Raised Dead sucks anyway. Half the time it has patches in it. This deck seems to be doing just fine with the Treasure Distributor nerf. Again, Treasure Distributor not being a threat on its own obviously is a bummer, but this deck always kind of won games by Hosen Roughhouse or Swarms. Attack buffs off of Sigil of Skydiving, attack buffs off of Dangerous Cliff Sides. Are cannons the best? No. I don't like Ziliax, so I don't have Ziliax in here. Mistakes over Small Time Buck, I believe, is correct. That looks better. Having more health and sticking around to get buffed by the Roughhousers just looks looks good. I like the Field of Strifes. I like one pick. I'm not in love necessarily with. Apparently, Fell Wings go in here someplace. I guess cut one of the bad cards. I don't know. I like this for. Pirate Demon Hunter. It's still doing okay right now. This is the latest technology from Tom. Tom is off the meat wagon kick. Tom likes Spirit Singer Umbra. Messmaker is very good into the remaining aggro, which is always funny. If we're not running meat wagons, we are okay with main decking Naval Mines. I've shown you many times how we stack up Lions with Naval Mine, Death Rattles, and Bran on board, and we go face and we win. In the ETC, he has Steam Cleaner to get rid of any tiny birds from Bad Luck Albatross, Tundra Rhino in case you got a bunch of free Lions in your hand, and Flare for Ice Block. I don't have to spend too much time on this. This is pretty much same old, same old. Big Shaman, Wild Meta Snapshot, stolen straight from Tempo Storm, straight from Docdelight. This is what Docdelight plays. This is what I would play. I think one Fairy Tale Forest is very much correct. You draw both Glugs off it anyway, and as Docdelight likes to explain, your best mulligan is to have Auction House Gavel and Muck Morpher. You can get a Muck Morpher down on 3 that way. Settling for Fairy Tale Forest is settling. So, keep that in mind. Having 2 of these is not great. The other one's always dead. And also, you really kind of, low-key don't want to settle for this, but sometimes you have to. Which that basically gives us 6 decks that I've talked about. The other deck I would talk about is 30 Seedlock. I've seen a lot of 30 Seedlocks. I'm sure they're doing a lot better. Less aggro means you can stick with the 30 and be more consistent. Obviously, less aggro means we're getting more Reno piles, and what loves Reno piles? Seedlock. Seedlock's win rate has definitely crept up. It's probably around the tier 2-ish kind of area. I don't have a Seedlock list that I like, so I'm not going to share a Seedlock list with you, but that's something that I would look at. If you have one that you'd like, I would look into it. Before the nerfs, I was really enjoying extra large Seedlock because the extra removal, the extra health, felt very good into the aggro. That has dried up. I'm back on 30 Seedlock if I'm going to play it for a tournament or something. A deck now that's a little bit on the copium end. I'm not going to call it bait because I've had too much success with it. But Wraxius put together and refined a little bit the extra large Boar Priest list I was playing. Took basically NHL's list and tweaked it a little bit. I like a lot of the choices that she made. I'm not so sure about the Shadow Word Ruin. I'm not so sure about the Amulet of the Undying. Those could both possibly be palm reading. Other people have been kind of looking at the list and kind of tweak it. Lasagna, who's a really strong standard and wild player, is looking at palm reading in these slots and says that it's turbo palm reading. Anybody who's not doing that's an idiot. And he's right a lot of the times. This feels very playable. The Messmakers make it very strong into aggro. Obviously, the inevitability of the boars into slow stuff is very good. The only issue you come into sometimes is drawing your stuff is a little bit goofy. And if you're seeing only slow stuff, cutting the Messmakers for instrument tech so that you're always getting access to your boars could also be an option. I don't know. Looks good, feels good. I like this list. I'm going to feature this list. The other list that I'm really surprised about is how well this listed yesterday. Now, since I streamed yesterday and I'm going to have a video post at midnight tonight outlining how well this list did, this list basically hit rank 1 on the China server except for 2 changes. And really, it's 1 change. Minus an Innervate, minus an Aquatic Form, plus double solar eclipse. The way normally I would sort of like balk looking at a change like this, but something that seems really cute to me, and they sit next to each other on the list. Solar eclipse trail mix looks real sexy. Real sexy. That's 4 mana, essentially banking 4 mana for the next turn. So like, even if you're just ramping normally, and we're Druid, we're never ramping normally, setting up that hard for like, oh, we can really go in next turn, seems super attractive to me. So like, I liked this a lot. This felt playable. Is it the best thing that we can do with Druid technology? I don't think so, in case you're not following what's going on. We get Travel Master Dungar in our hand, and we play it, and hopefully the minions that we pull out are A&R, Ysayle, Aviana. We have ways of drawing cards and finding Malygos. Sometimes you draw Renathal, so you got to kind of like figure your way around that. But we have Pendant of Earth, so once we draw a Pendant of Earth, we can get it. We have Nightshade Bud. Once we have Nightshade Bud, we can get one of the minions. So like, there's a lot of ways and a lot of flexibility in this combo with a lot of burst, and it plays very well. Does it beat Ice Block? I don't know. But this felt realish to me. Did it feel like tier 1? Probably not. Did it feel like playable tier 3, tier 2? Absolutely. So I want to feature that too, because that's something fun. All right, so now we've talked about a total of 9 decks that are new since we had our changes in the meta. Overall, just like overarching thoughts on how the meta is playing out. I find it a lot less interesting than the last meta. Getting rid of Radiant, got rid of some fun decks and strategies. Muting aggro thus far has not really brought any additional variety as far as slow stuff goes. Like you're seeing some newer and some weirder stuff, and people are trying some things, but by and large, it feels mostly like the stuff that was really good that didn't get nerfed just continues to be good. And so stuff like Spell Damage Druid just continues to be good. 30 Fatigue Demon Hunter was good. It was a good, solid deck before the nerfs. Didn't get hit with the nerfs. Now it's even better. Without, like, Lion Hunter, still good. Big Shaman was quietly fine. Like, a lot of stuff that was good before is still good. And if it got nerfed, it's either, like, gone from existence or, it's took the nerf a little bit on the chin. I think aggro's in a really rough spot. I think Shadow Priest can still do Shadow Priest stuff, but anything that's not aggro is basically a Renathal pile. And if you're not running a Renathal pile, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage. The draw has sort of caught up. Renathal's all over the format. We're going to get some really goofy, gross sort of combo-y meta and kind of go from there. So if you enjoyed this content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing on the YouTube. And I hope the decks that we feature tonight bring you some